Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com, coming to you with my Monday mashup video here. Going to chat some college basketball betting futures, some tips, and also 4 teams that I think are worth an investment right now. Did talk a little bit about the futures market on today's edition of Bang the Book Radio with Kyle Hunter. You can check that out right here on our YouTube page. Also, subscribe to the show on Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio. You name it, you can find Bang the Book Radio there. Over at BangTheBook.com, Kyle's done a fantastic job with his daily college basketball picks piece. Off to a very, very good start with that. Rave reviews about that article, so you certainly want to make sure that you're checking that out on a daily basis over at BangTheBook.com. Same thing with Parker Michaels' NHL picks. He's doing an excellent job breaking down the card each and every day over there, so highly recommend that you check that out. Big Ten Watto did a fantastic Australian Open preview for us over in the tennis betting market. We've got NBA, college basketball, NHL on a daily basis. Also, I've already done my opening line report and my game previews for the conference championship games that are coming up this weekend. So over at BangTheBook.com, we've got you fully covered for all of the sports markets that are going on right now. And I'm very hard at work on my baseball preparations as well. So we should be getting some MLB stuff here once the month of February begins. All right, so for this Monday mashup video, you have to apologize. I'm a little bit dealing with a little bit of a cold here. But I want to chat about futures because we're about 2 months away from the start of March Madness. Very good time of year to start looking at the futures market, start isolating some of those teams that could have some value for you. Few general betting tips about the futures market before I break down some of these individual teams. The first is that you have to understand that you don't have to pick the winner of March Madness to make money on futures. You want to be in a position to where you can hedge off of your futures and guarantee some profit there. So what you'll do once we get into the tournament, and we'll talk about this a lot on Bang the Book Radio when it comes to conference tournaments in March Madness, is that you'll want to try to pick teams that are going to make a little bit of a run here, give you a chance to play the other side, guarantee some profit with that initial investment. So we're not talking about full unit plays here or anything like that. You know, maybe if you're a $100 bettor, you throw $10 or $15 on some of these futures. If you're a $1,000 bettor, you know, maybe you're throwing $100 or $150 on some of these futures. But it's a really good way to diversify your investment portfolio when it comes to sports betting. A lot of people think that it's just all about sides and totals in this business. It's not. You have to be able to capitalize on the futures market, the derivative market with first and second half plays, and the live betting market as well, because those alternative markets to the regular spread and total are going to be a lot less efficient. You're going to have a lot more opportunities to gain advantages and edges in those betting markets, and the college basketball futures market, certainly one of those. Right now, at this time of the year, I'm only looking for triple-digit prices in the futures market. Anything 100 to 1 or higher, I'm maybe interested in, depending on the team, depending on their profile, how things set up for them right now. I'm not looking at any double-digit or single-digit prices because there's no equity in those at this time of the year. You look at Duke, they're less than a 2-1 favorite to win the national championship. You got Tennessee less than 10-1. Those are prices you can get once the draw is determined for the bracket, and even you could even do better than that if there are some injuries or something like that along the way. So I am not looking at any double-digit or single-digit prices at this time of the year. I'm looking for triple-digit prices on teams whose stock should increase as we go over the course of the season here, which would mean that I'll have more equity on those futures tickets. So you want to look for buy signs with these teams. You know, if they've got tough games coming up that are maybe toss-up types of games, resume-building games, perception-building games, now is probably a good time to invest in the futures for those teams. Because if they win those games, their futures prices are going to go down. If they don't win those games, nothing really changes, especially if they were expected to lose those games. Not going to do a whole lot to change their futures price, so you want to try to get that market entry point before that price goes down. You know, maybe you want to sit and wait on a game, see how a team performs, in its next marquee game. That's fine, but keep in mind, if they win that game, you're probably losing some equity on the price. And price is everything when it comes to the futures market because you're going to be hedging off of these once we get to the tournament. And the higher the profit potential you have, the more hedging freedom you have, which is another reason why you don't take a 10-1 or a 12-1 or a 15-1 right now, because A, those teams may be 25, 30, or 40 to 1 by the time we get to the tournament, and B, if you've got that low of a price, there's no margin for error. That team has to go pretty much to the Final Four. If you're talking about a 10 or a 12 to 1 shot, a 25 to 30 to 1, you'd really like to see them get to the Elite 8, which is why you focus on the triple-digit prices now. Hope that those are teams that can get to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 and give you a lot of hedging opportunity at that point. So these are lower investments where you're looking for a higher reward. Lower investments where you're looking for a higher reward. So let's talk about some of the teams that kind of fit the bill a little bit here when you talk about investing in the futures market. And I'm looking at a team like Louisville right now. Louisville, a lot of transition, a lot of turmoil for that program over the last couple of years, but they're going in the right direction right now. They're 11-5 on the season, which is one of the reasons why you can get their futures price at 155 to 1. You've got teams right now that are 16-2, 15-3, stuff like that. For Louisville, they've already lost 5 games. And a lot of times you do have to get to 20 wins or get to a certain point in your conference record to get into March Madness. Right now for Louisville, they've got some work to do. But that's why it's a good time to bet on them. Because right now you've got a Louisville team, 37th ranked non-conference strength of schedule, 11th ranked strength of schedule overall. So they've got that from a resume standpoint. They're going to be favored in their next 6 games. So all of a sudden you're talking about a Louisville team that can probably go from 11-5 to 17-5 and go from 2-1 in conference play to 8-1 in conference play just by holding serve in the next 6 games that they're supposed to win. All of a sudden, if you take a Louisville team and turn them from 11-5 to 17-5, they're not 155 to 1 anymore. They're probably 80 or 85 to 1, something like that, maybe even 75 to 1, because all of a sudden now they look like a surefire tournament team based on how many wins they've accumulated in their first 22 games. So now is a good time to back a team like that. Yes, they just had a big road win at North Carolina that did do a little bit of damage to their futures price, but now they've got a signature win, and they've got a chance to really pad that record moving forward. That's a buy team. That's a good buy sign when you know that a team is going to increase its margin for error, or at least should, over the next several games, and you're getting them at better than 150 to 1. I like Louisville a lot here from a futures standpoint right now. How about the Purdue Boilermakers? Another team, off to a 10-6 start. Not impressive. No one's going to bat an eye at that. But this is a Purdue team that's played the second toughest strength of schedule in college basketball this year. They've started with some very tough games in the Big Ten already. They're 5th in adjusted offensive efficiency. They've got a good head coach. They'll get better on defense. They've got some short underdog lines coming up here in conference play. You win your toss-up games, strengthens your resume, and it lowers your futures price. So right now, Purdue at 120 to 1, a team we did talk about on the Monday edition of Bang the Book Radio, a very good investment at this point in time, because really, to me, I think their futures price can only go down from this point forward. Now, if they do run bad in those coin flip games, probably a dead future anyway, because this would be a team then that would have to run the table or maybe make a run in the Big Ten tournament to have a surefire spot in March Madness and get a good seed line. But I would expect them to play pretty well here as they go forward. So 120 to 1, good time to buy on the Purdue Boilermakers. Other thing that you want to look for here, teams that have a solid record and have a good strength of schedule, the Oklahoma Sooners are one of those teams. They are 13-3 here so far, and they've played the 3rd ranked strength of schedule in college basketball. They have a top 10 defensive efficiency, which is very, very helpful, especially in a conference where you've got a lot of home road splits like the Big 12. And as we go forward here, Lon Kruger should figure out what he's going to do in terms of this offense. Last year, Trae Young did so much offensively for Oklahoma. Everything ran through him. One of the highest usage rates in college basketball. Well, as they keep going here and gelling and finding out who their go-to players are, the offense should be on the rise. The defense is already very good. And in the Big 12, you've got the chance at all times to pick up wins that are going to strengthen your resume. Because if you win on the road in Big 12 play, that's very impressive. If you beat a really good team at home, like a Kansas or somebody like that, that's very impressive as well. So Oklahoma, a team right now in the 215 to 1 range out there, I think that's a very good futures ticket to invest in at this point in time. One other group that you want to look for, a team that has a really solid record right now, that has played a weaker schedule, but looks good when stepping up in class. TCU looks like that team right now. TCU, close loss to Kansas in a game they were in pretty much for the majority. Then they bounced back against Oklahoma, only lost by 2 points on the road. Very, very tough game there in Norman. They were 13 of 45 on 2-point field goals in that game, still only lost by 2. So they've played 2 very tough road games in conference play, have looked pretty sharp in them. They'll pick up some more wins, and they already have a good head start from a schedule standpoint, from a record standpoint. They're going to have a record that the selection committee is going to respect. So this is a team that, should be on the rise here as well, picking up some nice conference wins at home, maybe getting a couple of conference wins on the road. And per the look-ahead lines here, they've got some toss-up games coming up. You win those, you build your resume, as I've already talked about. TCU at 210-1 team right now to win the national championship. And again, you don't need them to win the national championship at 210-1. They get into this thing, if they get a favorable draw, you may get a Sweet 16 team in there at 210-1. Gives you a ton of hedging margin when you get to March Madness. So I know the futures are a little bit scary, a little bit concerning because, you do have to invest more to guarantee profit with that futures ticket. But these are 4 really good starting points, and these are the types of things you want to look for. Then you can see on Selection Sunday, what does the draw look like? When do I want to hedge? How far do I want this team to go before I start, making a play going against them? These are low investments with a high reward. And even if you're somebody who's only throwing $10 or $15 or $20 on these, it's like getting a scratch-off ticket from the convenience store, but you've got much better odds because you can control what happens as long as that team gets into the tournament. So I think these are low-risk investments with medium to high rewards. It's a very cool market to tap into and a market that can open up a lot of possibilities for you if you enter at the right time, get these teams at a good price. So we'll do a lot of talking about this on Bang the Book Radio with conference tournaments and March Madness here. Wanted to introduce the topic to you on this Monday mashup video. And if you're somebody who's very adept at the futures market, maybe this video isn't for you. If you're somebody who's a novice and trying to get into this and trying to, expand your sports betting horizons, then maybe this video is right up your alley. So again, very interesting market to talk about with college basketball futures. We'll do a lot of that over the next couple of months at BangTheBook.com and on Bang the Book Radio. I'm Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com.